Well, I got the front of the house done pretty much. I put the house wrap up where it was all torn off to help protect that from the weather. And then I did that eyebrow up there, the cornice and stuff, and the roof on the bay window, and I got it patched up pretty good. I just put the man lift up and went up there and took a look at that, and that looks pretty good. It's rained a little bit, and I wanted to check it out and see how it was doing. So, like I said, it rained pretty hard this morning and today a couple times. So that's looking pretty good. Now, I've been looking at this end of it here, and back when I had the scaffolding and everything up, I put that cornice up there. And I put roofing material on there. I put asphalt shingles up there on that and had that pretty well, what I thought was pretty well set up. Looking at it from the ground here now, I can see the paint is scuffed off of that fascia board where it overhangs on that other end over there on the other face. Oh, I thought I'd go ahead and take a look at that. Now, a couple years ago, I rented a 45-foot man lift, and we put the tieback, the house wrap up on this face of the house. But it wouldn't reach far enough to get up there too much. I had to do part of it from down below, and then the upper portion I could only do part of it, and I couldn't get up above up there, because that's almost 30-some feet up there to the peak from the ground over there. I brought the man lift over on this side and finished it out, but like I said, it couldn't do that too much. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the man lift down here. I think it's flat enough over there in front of the basement that I can operate it, and I'm going to take it up and do an inspection on this and see what needs to be done on there, if anything. First look up there, it didn't look too bad. I could see there's some loose screws out there in the soffit underneath the main roof, where the screws got pulled up from the ice and stuff there that need to be taken out because water wicks down those screws and into the plywood. The main overhang looked pretty good. It's got some moss growing on it and stuff. But as I got to looking, I could see some spots in the middle there where the water was wicking down through there. I didn't put any flashing back up against the main wall over the top of the asphalt shingles when I put them up. I did put a metal drip edge underneath the asphalt shingles, but I don't think it sticks out quite far enough. Anyway, all the tieback, of course, has come off of up there on the gable end. That's been off and flagging in the wind for a while. I couldn't really get up there to do anything about it before. Now that I got this machine, I can get up there, but I think what I'm going to wind up doing is tearing all that roofing off of there and redoing it, but I'm not going to do it right now. It's not getting into the main roof. What I should do is go ahead and go around there and pull those screws out and put some sealant on them and stuff and that are leaking on the main roof. And I'll probably do that. but I don't think I'm going to do anything with this roof because it's not really affecting this main house yet. Anyway, one more thing to add to the list. Right now, I'm not going to do anything with this. What I'm going to do is go over, and I've got some dead trees over there on the other edge of the property that got to cut down, and was going to try to use them for lumber, but I think they're going to wind up being firewood. So before it starts raining again, I'll go get my chainsaws going and cut down a couple trees, I guess. A couple days ago, I took the man lift down by the basement. So there was some screws that had pulled loose on the roofing on that other end of the roof. The weather's been just terrible since I did that. We got a little break in the weather today. I'm going to take advantage of it, take that man lift back down there and go up and do some more inspection on that roofing metal up there and to replace some of the screws. I guess I better go find some sealant. That's the one thing I haven't done yet. I was going to get some sealant, pull the old screws out, put some sealant down in the holes, put them back in, and then maybe put a new screw into good wood. Because what happens is those screws pull out, water starts wicking down the screws and soaks into the underlayment, which is OSB, and then it gets all wet and crappy. The weather in this country goes from cold and snow to warm and then back to cold in such a quick cycle that we get a little bit of snow on the roof of the house, and then the air temperature warms up and it rains, and of course the rain saturates and goes down through the snow that's on the roof. It'll turn off really cold overnight and it freezes the snow up solid. And what it does that, it freezes it right around those screws that hold the roofing metal down, and then when they start to slide, it just pulls those screws out of the wood and it loosens them up. Well, I don't know whether that's going to show up or not, but you can see how it's gotten wet up there on the eaves down the lower end of it. I'll get up a little higher so there's not so much sky blocking that. Alright, see how it gets wet right there. That's where one of the screws comes out through the sheeting, through the roof sheeting, right there. One's back a little farther, okay. We got some more down this way. A few more of them along there to do. There's one. So I'll get up on top and I'll pull those screws out, squirt some sealant down in the holes, put some new screws in. And that wood is pretty compromised there from being wet. So I'll go ahead and put another screw in between those screws where it goes into some good wood. Here's what it looks like up on top of the roof. You see how all these screws, it's been 20 years since I put this roof on here, or more than 20 years since I put this roof on here. All these screws have gotten rusty, but see this one here that goes through the flashing and down into the roof, that one is tight. This one here is loose, it's pulled up a ways. This one here is loose. Here's one that's really loose. I can pull it out with my fingers. There's some more of them like that along here. So that's what I'm going to do. The ones back up are okay, although I'll look at them. If I look at it, see any of them that look like they might be coming loose, I'll go ahead and take those out too. I bought a whole bunch of screws. I was going to have my son come up here on the roof and replace all the screws on the roof, but he didn't like being up here on the roof, so even with a harness and everything on, so it didn't get done. So now we got this man lift up here, maybe we can get that done. But so there's some screws anyway right there, and this is what I've got this time. And I've got my little gun here for shooting those in there, impact wrench. All right, get after it now. Well, I'm just about done here. I've been changing out all these screws. I went ahead and went up to the second row up and pulled some of those, or pulled all of those out and changed them too. And the only ones that I'm not doing are the ones here where the seam is, where the D is. I don't have any long ones to change those out with. Like I said, I'm up to, oh, I got what, 15 feet left to go here. I got the lower section done except for about 3 feet there. I've got screws here, these threes like this, those were just put in there for the roof jacks when I had the roof jacks up here. So anyway, I think I'll change those out too. I'm squirting a little bit of this sealant down on the openings. Once I pull the screw out, I just make a little squirt down there on that, and then I'll pull the screw out, put a little bit on the threads and stuff of the screw and put it back in. Then I'm going to go back, and then I'm going back over each one of the screws and put a little bit of that sealant over them too, just in case. Most of them are going to be pretty good, but there's some of them where the holes were big and the screws were loose in them. A little sealant doesn't hurt. And on the bottom here, or every place that the screws were loose, I'm doubling up. And on the bottom here, I'm doubling up and putting an extra screw in each one of these. So like this is the one that was in there, and I'm putting one more in between each of them here on the bottom. And I did that on that second row on a couple of them that had some really wallered out holes, but most of those wind up being in pretty good shape. Well, I've got enough screws to do the whole roof on both sides. I may do that, or may have my son do that if we get the weather for it sometime this summer. And the roof is not actually in too bad a shape, except for that where the screws were being pulled out from the ice. So like right here on the end, see that one there is loose. That one's pulled up. And that one over there is pulled up. So we'll get those. Anyway, I got to work on this second row here now along the length of this basket. We'll get those pulled out of there and new screws put in, and then we'll do the last ones there and finish up on it. Nice view from up here. See over the trees now. You can see some of the fresh snow on the mountain. I just talked to one of my bosses, and he said it was snowing in town this morning when he went to work. I don't think it was snowing out here, but it rained pretty hard. And now we got a forecast of 5 inches of snow on Thursday, he said. I don't know whether that's for here or what. It's only the end of April. It's not uncommon to get snow here. God, we've had temperatures, weather where it was blue sky and pretty much drought conditions and 90 degrees in April, and we've got snow in April and May, so you never know what we're going to get here. We've got 3 different examples of the screws that are coming out of the roof here. Now most of them are like this. They're rusty on the top, but they're sealed pretty good, and they come out of there and the screws are still bright. Every once in a while we'll get one like this where the seal has started to fail and you got moisture going down it, or it's coming in through the wood from the bottom or something. Anyway, the wood's damp and it's starting to get a little bit of rust on it. Now this is like typical of the ones that were in the holes that got pulled out by the ice. They're pretty much rusty all the way down, and the threads are pretty much gone in them here where it was into the wood. In fact, some of them had a hard time getting them out of the wood. I'd have to stick my fingernails underneath the washers here and pull up on it as I was unscrewing it to get them to come out. But like I said, most of them are like this. You can see that some of them, the washers are starting to fail on them a little bit. The replacement screws are like this, which is what I should have had in the first place for the roof, but I used what they sent me. Well, anyway, these will stick down through the underlayment a little ways, but these were sticking out quite a ways through the underlayment, which is not really good. As one of the things that is happening on the roof is the house was leaking, dripping, so what was happening is condensation was going up, and or moisture was going up and condensing on those roofing screws as they came through the roof sheeting. It was condensing on those and freezing, and it would build up, and then when the sun had come out and hit the roof, it warms the roof up, and all that condensation off those screws would melt and drip down in the house. So the roof wasn't actually leaking, but we were getting dripping in the house. Put some heat in there, and then we got a dehumidifier that we run when it gets cold. That's the only time that it happens, is when it's really cold out, when we start getting frosty out here. And Like I said, those screws protrude down through the roofing sheeting, and where they protrude through, then the moisture in the house condenses on them, freezes, and then comes dribbling down when it warms up. Well, anyhow, I better get back to work. I got all the screws out of this second row here that I can reach. I'll start putting new screws in there. Well, I got that much done. I got the first 2 rows, screws all changed in it, and some sealant put on them. Anyway, that's enough. Enjoying the view. I cut some of those trees down across the road so we can see the water, I guess. Well, doing an inspection from the ground, I thought I could see some spots that were troubling looking on this east side of the house. So I decided to bring the machine over here and take a closer look at it. And sure enough, there's one screw right there that's coming out. And there's a few more along here that are loose. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this side too, like I did the other side. Change out some of these screws, I guess. See if Well, the sandhill cranes are coming over. Now, they've been coming over for quite a while. This is the lowest they've been here for a while. They must have just taken off someplace or just come over the hill, and they're trying to gain altitude right now. Yeah. There's more coming behind them. They're going to be a pretty big bunch when they get all together there. Well, here comes some more. I think they lose altitude when they come across that hills right here because of the downdrafts, and when they get on this side, then they're circling around trying to gain altitude back up. Don't know for sure, but that kind of looks like what they're doing. Well, spring is officially here. These guys have been coming over for a little over a week now. But I can hear hooters, which are spruce grouse, out here now in the woods. Well, that's a good sign of spring. Well, this side of the roof is in pretty good shape. There was some screws that, well, they're all rusty on top, like I said. All of them are rusty. Anyway, there was a couple of them that had backed out a little bit, but there wasn't any weeping through it. And I replaced a couple of screws up there and sprayed some waterproofing on a few more of them. That end down there isn't in very good shape. There was quite a few screws that had backed out down there, and I'd put them in before and sealed them up, but they'd got pulled out again this winter or something, and that roofing on there is pretty much wet. I'm probably going to have to pull back those sheets of steel up there on the roofing and replace a couple of those boards, at least down to the overhang to the soffits like I did out here on the front. And then on that corner back there, that board is saturated and kind of rotten back quite a ways. So looks like I'm going to have to do some work on that eventually, but I think I got it sealed up for now. I pulled all the old screws out, put new screws in, and put sealant on all of them. So we'll see how that goes.